Most women believe a man becomes addicted to them through beauty, charm, or the easy comfort of affection. But the truth runs deeper and darker. A man does not lose himself in a woman because she pleases him. He becomes bound to her when she strikes a chord in the deepest chambers of his psyche, awakening parts of him he has hidden from the world, and perhaps even from himself. It is not her smile or her touch that haunts him. It is the way she becomes a living mirror for his buried truths. This is not chance. This is the quiet mastery of Jungian psychology, the language of the unconscious. In every man there lives an anima, the feminine image embedded in his psyche, woven from the threads of his early experiences, longings, and unspoken wounds. When a woman embodies the essence of that anima, even unknowingly, she becomes a gravitational force in his inner world. She feels like fate, like a missing piece, like something ancient he has been chasing without knowing why. And yet, the women who wield this kind of pull do not cling. They do not ask for his devotion. They understand that desire is amplified when it is not constantly satisfied. In her presence, he feels a rare blend of comfort and tension, the safety of being deeply seen, and the electric challenge of never fully conquering her. She draws him in like a riddle he cannot solve, a flame that warms yet refuses to be contained. Her movements, her silences, even her absence seem to carry meaning. He begins to look for her in every thought, not because she is always there, but because she is not. The male psyche is a labyrinth. At its center lies not tender love, but an insatiable need for meaning, conquest, and recognition. Jung understood that a man will project his own unlived potential onto a woman, making her the vessel of his deepest yearning. If she steps into that role blindly, she will be consumed. But if she understands the projection, if she can hold it without losing herself, she can create a bond that feels almost impossible to sever. This is not manipulation. It is mastery. And mastery begins with the woman herself. To awaken a man's shadow, she must have faced her own. To stir the depths of his unconscious, she must be unafraid of her own darkness. She must hold her wounds, her desires, and her contradictions without shame. This is the essence of feminine sovereignty, a presence that chooses, not needs. When a man encounters such a woman, something ancient stirs. His armor begins to crack. He feels the dangerous pleasure of being both safe and unsettled. Safe because she understands him without judgment. Unsettled because her presence forces him to confront the truths he has buried. She becomes not a distraction but a compass. And like all compasses, her value lies in being consulted, not possessed. Her gift is not constant availability. She allows him to hunger for her, to feel the ache of her absence as much as the thrill of her nearness. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what is easily within reach is often undervalued. The human mind, especially the masculine mind, longs for what it fears might slip away. By embodying both presence and absence, she creates a rhythm that echoes in his soul. He will try to define her, to capture her essence, to claim her completely. But the moment he feels he has solved her mystery, the addiction fades. Her power lies in being a moving horizon, always real, always there, but never entirely reached. The more she evolves, the more he must stretch to follow. And in that stretching, his bond to her grows until it is less a choice and more a compulsion. To keep a man bound in the deepest corridors of his own desire, you must understand the gravity of contrast, the sacred tension between what is given and what is withheld. The unconscious does not feed on abundance alone. It feeds on mystery, on the spaces between moments, on the unanswered questions that echo in silence. A man's emotional addiction is not born from constant indulgence, but from the slow, deliberate weaving of tension into intimacy. In Jungian terms, this is the dance between the conscious self and the shadow, between the image he presents to the world and the parts of himself he hides, even from his own reflection. When a woman becomes fluent in both realms, she does not simply occupy his thoughts. She becomes the stage upon which his inner dramas unfold. He does not realize it at first, but every conversation, every glance, every time she pulls back, forces him to navigate the terrain of his own psyche. You see, men are taught to value what they can conquer. But what truly holds them is what they cannot. It is in the moments he feels her slipping beyond his grasp, not out of rejection but out of sovereign choice, that the hunger deepens. She becomes the rare presence who will not allow herself to be swallowed by his needs, and in that refusal, she becomes indispensable. This is the paradox of emotional gravity. The more she withholds in wisdom, the closer he draws in devotion. There is also the unspoken alchemy of reflection. Jung knew that the anima does more than charm. It confronts. When he looks into her eyes and sees his own forgotten ambitions, his abandoned passions, his unhealed wounds, he begins to feel both gratitude and discomfort. Gratitude, because she illuminates parts of him no one else dared to touch. Discomfort, because she refuses to let him remain in the safety of self-deception. He returns to her not only for warmth but for the rare clarity she awakens. The Stoics understood this too. Seneca wrote that, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. But few men do. Most walk blind to the patterns and fears that drive them." A woman rooted in her own self-mastery becomes a mirror that makes those patterns impossible to ignore. This is why he thinks of her when he is alone. This is why her absence feels like an ache in his chest. Not because she filled him, but because she showed him the space that still longs to be filled. Such a woman does not confuse scarcity with manipulation. She understands that space is sacred. She gives enough to ignite, but not so much that the flame grows dull. She lets him experience the tension of wanting, the sweet ache of uncertainty, the thrill of pursuit. For the male psyche, this is not cruelty. It is nourishment. Without the chase, his instinct grows dull. Without the uncertainty, his mind begins to wander elsewhere. But here is where many falter. They give the chase and forget the depth. Mystery without substance becomes a hollow game. A man may chase for novelty, but he stays for resonance. If every time he reaches her, he finds a new layer, a thought, a passion, a silence that speaks more than words, he will crave her as one craves truth itself. She becomes not an object of desire, but a living archetype in his inner world, one he cannot easily replace. This is why her growth is non-negotiable. She must evolve not for him but for herself. Every transformation she undergoes, every shadow she integrates, every truth she claims as her own, it all ripples into his perception of her. He senses she is never the same woman twice. She is a story unfolding, and he has become addicted to reading each chapter. The addiction, then, is not to her body alone, nor even her affection. It is to the unshakable fact that in her presence, he feels more alive, more awake, more himself, and yet always just slightly behind her. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more Carl Jung-inspired insights on feminine power, attraction dynamics, and healing the unconscious patterns that hold us back. The man who finds himself in such a pull will not always understand it. He may mistake it for love, lust, or destiny, but what he truly feels is the gravitational force of psychological integration calling to him. You are not simply a woman in his life. You have become the bridge between who he is and who he secretly longs to be. That bridge is intoxicating, because it offers him glimpses of his own wholeness, yet never lets him set foot on it without effort. In Jungian language, this is the individuation process disguised as attraction. Through you, he meets his shadow, confronts his contradictions, and wrestles with the dissonance between his ideals and his reality. He may not thank you for it, at least not consciously, because the work is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the seed of change, and change is the core of attachment. Men become addicted to what transforms them, even when that transformation burns. The art lies in holding your center as he struggles. If you bend to his projections, if you dilute your essence to soothe him, you sever the very thread that binds him. A man's emotional addiction does not grow from compliance. It thrives on the presence of someone he cannot fully command. That untamed energy calls to the primal hunter within him, not to destroy but to seek, to learn, to grow. There is a dangerous beauty in this. Many women, sensing a man's hunger, make the mistake of feeding it until it dulls. They offer constant reassurance, unguarded access, endless giving. And in doing so, they rob him of the very fire that drew him close. Desire requires oxygen. Overfeeding it is like smothering a flame with too much fuel. Instead, she who understands the psyche knows when to lean in and when to lean back. She grants him moments of deep connection, where he feels as though she sees him completely. Then she retreats into her own world, her own pursuits, reminding him that her life does not orbit his. This contrast carves a longing into his nervous system. He begins to anticipate her, to search for her essence in every interaction, to feel her absence as vividly as her touch. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When his thoughts begin to circle around you, when your voice and image start coloring the inner fabric of his mind, you have stepped into his unconscious as an archetype. And archetypes are not easily erased. They linger, shaping dreams, influencing choices, haunting moments of solitude. But to remain that archetype, you must keep evolving. Stillness is death to fascination. If you become predictable, the mystery unravels. The man addicted to you is addicted not to a static version of you, but to the endless unfolding of who you are becoming. Your growth ensures that he is always chasing not a memory, but a moving horizon. And this is where the power deepens. He begins to associate his own expansion with your presence. You are not simply the woman he desires. You are the catalyst for the man he wishes to be. Without you, he feels the drift, the dullness. With you, he feels the spark, the momentum. That contrast embeds itself into his body like muscle memory. The most potent truth of all is that you are not doing this to keep him. Your sovereignty demands that you are willing to lose him rather than lose yourself. This is the paradox he cannot escape. The more you choose yourself, the more he chooses you. And as he reaches for you, again and again, he realizes he is not just reaching for a woman. He is reaching for the part of himself that only awakens in your light. This is why the most powerful form of attraction is never desperate, never grasping. It is the silent confidence of a woman who knows she is the prize, yet does not parade herself as one. She moves through the world as if her worth were written into the architecture of her being, needing no proof, no applause, no validation. That quiet certainty unsettles him more than any overt seduction. It forces him to ask himself why her presence feels like a standard he must rise to meet. In Jungian thought, the anima is not merely a muse, she is a guide. But a guide does not walk the path for the seeker. She illuminates it. A man addicted to such a presence is not intoxicated by dependency, but by the constant awakening she evokes. This is why he can neither fully rest in her nor walk away from her. She is the unfinished chapter of his own soul, the echo of something just beyond his grasp. And yet, she remains grounded in her own reality. She does not make his growth her mission, nor his attention her sustenance. Her energy is not consumed by waiting for his next move. Instead, she invests in herself, her passions, her friendships, her inner work. Every layer she builds adds to her complexity, and complexity is the root of fascination. A simple one-dimensional presence may entertain a man for a season. A multi-layered soul becomes his lifelong study. The Stoics remind us that self-mastery is the highest freedom. For a woman, self-mastery is the shield that keeps her from being swallowed by another's longing. She can play in the theater of desire without losing herself in the performance. She can ignite his need without becoming enslaved to satisfying it. This equilibrium makes her rare, and rarity fuels obsession. You see, the masculine unconscious is drawn to challenge not for cruelty, but for purpose. Without a worthy challenge, his nature drifts into lethargy. When a woman embodies both tenderness and untouchability, she calls to this part of him. She offers moments of profound connection, then lets them dissolve into distance, not as punishment but as a reminder that she is not a constant, guaranteed presence. He must keep showing up. He must keep earning the right to stand in her light. This is why emotional addiction, when born of depth, is not built on games. It is built on the slow weaving of meaning into every interaction. When he hears her voice, it is not merely sound, it is a summons. When she looks at him, it is not just attention, it is reflection. When she steps away, it is not rejection, it is space for him to feel the pull of her absence. The irony is that she is not trying to make him addicted. She is simply living in alignment with her own truth, and her truth happens to awaken his. The more she embodies that truth, the more she becomes a touchstone for his identity. Without her, he feels the static hum of incompleteness. With her, he feels the electric charge of becoming. And that feeling, the aliveness she inspires, is what he cannot surrender. In time, he may realize that what he craves is not her body, her words, or even her presence, but the version of himself he becomes in her orbit. This realization only deepens the bond, because now she is not just a woman he wants, she is a symbol of his own transformation. And symbols, once carved into the unconscious, are not easily erased. What he does not see at first is that this pull toward you is also a pull toward his own unclaimed power. In the Jungian sense, every man's soul yearns for wholeness, but wholeness requires the courage to face what he has long buried. His fears, his wounds, his vulnerability. You, without demanding or pleading, become the spark that ignites this confrontation. You stir something ancient in him, not by trying to fix him, but by standing unshaken in the presence of his truth. Your strength is not loud. It is steady. You do not threaten him into change, nor do you coddle him into comfort. You hold the tension between acceptance and expectation, allowing him to feel both safe in your gaze and challenged by it. This duality is the rarest of gifts. Safety without challenge breeds complacency. Challenge without safety breeds resistance. But together, they forge the fire in which emotional addiction is born. The Stoics knew that a man's freedom lies in his ability to rule himself. Yet few ever achieve this without the catalyst of another soul pressing against their edges. You become that catalyst, not because you seek control, but because you embody a life so rooted in self-worth that it forces him to confront where he has settled for less. In you, he sees not only beauty, but a vision of discipline, passion, and self-possession. And once he has glimpsed that vision, ordinary connection will never satisfy him again. But here is the part most fail to understand. Your power lies not in his reaction, but in your detachment from it. You are not afraid of losing him, because you know you are not sustained by his presence. You have seen your own depths, tasted your own strength, and made peace with your own solitude. That peace is magnetic. It tells him in ways words never could, that you do not need him to complete you. But you might choose him if he rises to meet you. This is where his hunger deepens beyond logic. His body may crave your touch. His mind may crave your voice, but his soul craves the version of himself that only awakens in your company. You have become a mirror he cannot turn away from, because to do so would be to abandon the man he is becoming. And so he returns again and again, not for comfort, but for the exquisite tension of becoming more under your gaze. Your dance with him is never frantic. You do not rush the unfolding. You allow space for absence, knowing absence is the soil in which longing grows. You allow moments of closeness, knowing that connection without mystery loses its power. You move as if guided by an unspoken rhythm, one that keeps him just enough in the unknown to keep seeking, yet never so far that he feels discarded. He may try to name what you are to him: lover, muse, session. But none of these fit because they are too small for what you represent. You are an archetype now, living in the architecture of his unconscious. The symbol of a truth he cannot unknow. And no matter where he goes, this symbol follows him. In the quiet moments before sleep, in the choices he makes without fully understanding why, in the persistent sense that he has touched something rare and cannot let it go. And yet you remain untethered. You are the horizon, always visible, never fully reached. The ocean, capable of holding him, yet never belonging to him. The flame, warm enough to draw near, fierce enough to burn. This is not cruelty. This is nature. It is the way of things that what is most alive cannot be caged. The woman who understands this truth never fears loss, because she knows her presence lingers far beyond her touch. And in that knowing, she holds the kind of power that cannot be stolen. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses. If this message stirred something deep within you, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or spoken to in ways that made you question your worth, know this: you are not alone and you are not powerless. Subscribe to this channel for more Carl Jung-inspired insights on feminine power, attraction dynamics, and healing the unconscious patterns that hold us back. Like this video if you're choosing yourself. And share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might be the light someone else needs today. This is more than psychology. This is soul work. And you, woman, are worthy of truth, reverence, and real.